On this Tactics episode of Game Dev Hideout, Daniel gets to chat with Taylor, better known as Loxiulus, on Twitter, the creator of Chesslocke. Chesslocke is a variation of chess where different pieces are given various power-ups to aid in the victory. Along with additional abilities, there are also roadblocks to dodge and weave around. If you're a fan of TRPGs or chess, this is definitely going to be the game for you. Then, after the break, Chris and Daniel get to speak with Kenn, the creator of Immortal Tactics. It takes place on a densely populated hex grid map that leads to a lot of versatility and tactical choices. Again, tactics and chess fans are going to want to check this one out as well. Having played the demo, I highly recommend it. We hope you enjoy these interviews. Okay. Today I am joined with Taylor, perhaps better known as Loxiulus on Twitter and other social parts of the world.
Loxiulus, yeah.
How you doing, man?
Hey, doing great. So glad you're having me on.
Of course. We get anyone who will say yes. And this game, we're talking mostly about Chesslocke today. For people who don't know, tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah, hey everyone, I'm Taylor Hatton. I go by Loxiulus on social media. And I've been designing games ever since I was a little kid. I've been making card games, board games, designing stories for RPGs ever since I was little. And, as I got older, I never took it as a career path. And I wish I got into the gaming industry, but I just didn't take that path. And so I was making some games for fun on the side, all types of games. And I had this really cool, unique idea to make some changes to the game chess. And I created Chesslocke.
I have to ask about this because people want to know, do you have any board games that you've made? Like board games that you've done?
Yeah, I did make some board games, some card games. In fact, I think I might have made the first Dragon Ball Z card game. I made I watched that show growing up, and I printed out all the characters. I gave them abilities, and I gave them ways that they could upgrade abilities. And it was a turn-based card game, and that was before the cards for the show ever existed. And so I was like, oh man, I had that idea when I was a kid. And I made some board games. I made Battle Shots, which is the game Battleship, but you play with little cups and you can put whatever you want in the cups. And that's been a big hit. But yeah, I crafted all that. It's really fun. So yeah, I just like making little games and stuff.
That's awesome. Are any of them kind of commercially available? Like, can we find?
No, the only thing that's actually available is Chesslocke, which is on Steam.
You didn't go down the path of being a game dev, so you sort of do it as passion projects?
Yeah, it's been nights and weekends. Just whenever I get time, I'll just I'll put a couple hours in on a Friday night, Thursday night, Tuesday night. I actually started making Chesslocke about 12 years ago. I kept putting it down, picking it back up, putting ideas on paper, ideas in spreadsheets, and I didn't really know how to get it off the ground. So it just kept on going I'll put it on the back burner, and then I get some ideas, and then I keep adding to it. So it was off and on for many years. But a few years ago, I got some fire, and I was just like, you know what? I've gotten as far as I can on paper and on spreadsheets and in prototypes. It's time to, should I pull the trigger or just say goodbye to it? And that's what it came down to.
So are you as almost inspired by physical board games as you are video games?
Yeah, I certainly love playing board games, but I mean, I guess I love video games even more. But the inspiration really came from, I was playing a lot of chess. I went through this phase where I was playing a lot of chess, and I was also playing a lot of tactical strategy games, specifically a game called Final Fantasy Tactics.
Mhm.
And in fact, I played it 2 nights ago. Actually, it's one of my favorite games of all time. That game and chess have a lot in common. You have several units that you control, that you move, and you move them across a grid or a board, and they all have unique, they have some sort of unique ability. In chess it's a unique movement. It might be a horizontal or diagonal movement, it might be an L-shaped movement, and that's what makes them unique. And then in these tactical games, they might have certain abilities that make them unique. And so I thought about combining the two, and I added RPG elements to chess. So your chess pieces gain experience points and level ups, and they get new abilities that you can upgrade. And the whole thing is played in this puzzle campaign where every game is unique.
You see, that's awesome because we actually did an episode called From Chess to Final Fantasy, kind of
Yeah.
in our own galaxy brain way, sort of like
Yeah, I listened to it. Yeah.
sculpting the path, and we get kind of out there as far as thoughts go. The idea stays the same, and Chesslocke's like, if that episode were a game, it would be Chesslocke.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of my biggest questions, I haven't always gotten to play the demos or the games of people we've spoken to, but I've actually gotten to play Chesslock,
Oh, great.
and it was actually quite a bit of fun. But my big question was, like, how did you go about like assigning like unique values to like a bishop or a knight, where you can like gain experience and then they can do other things?
Yeah. So, well, the first thing was deciding what unique abilities they should have. So, in Chesslock, your pieces move how they normally move in chess, right? L shape, diagonally, horizontally. Pawns can, move one or two from the start, or attack diagonally, etc. But then each power piece gains three unique abilities, and those are the first things that was the first challenge, coming up with those, and it had to be things that would make sense. So the first one I think I thought of was the bishop. And when you play RPGs, even MMO RPGs, there's always like a cleric or like a white mage or like that kind of healer type class. And I thought, well, the bishop is supposed to be kind of like that holy kind of, cleric. It could also be like a white mage if you're playing an RPG. So I gave the bishop a revive ability, and that's its biggest ability, its ultimate ability. It's the most expensive to unlock and purchase and use in the game. And so you can revive one piece from your graveyard, your removed pieces. And then I think the next ability was, I was looking at the knight. And if you look at the knight, well, it's called a knight, right? So you can think of like a knight in armor, but the graphic of the knight is actually a horse. And so where do you see a knight and a horse together? And I thought about jousting. Two knights on horseback, and they're charging toward each other. And when you're playing chess, the knight can only move in an L shape. And there were times that I wanted, gosh, I wish my knight could just attack in a straight line. And so his big ability is called joust, and it's a straight line attack with the knight. And then so I was going through, and I thought, well, what else would make sense? And so the king has this ability called dub knight, that if he's one square away from a pawn, you can, so if you can picture in your head a king standing and like a person kneeling in front of the king, and then the king taps on either shoulder, and I dub you a knight. So the dub knight ability turns a pawn into a knight for the rest of that match. And you and so each power piece has three of these really cool, fun, useful abilities that are either utility or offensive or defensive. And as you gain experience, you can choose which ones you want to unlock. So they're all laid out there, and you choose which one you want. Now, do you want to put all your points into upgrading, one? Do you want to dump them all into one piece? Or do you want to spread them out so you have a variety of abilities? And some players will it's really mixed. Some like, oh, I love this one. I want to upgrade it to level 3. And when you upgrade, you can the range increases on them. So, for example, the knight also has this ability called halt, and the artwork is if you could picture like a knight or like a guard, and he puts his hand up in front of you in like a stop and says halt. This ability freezes a targeted enemy piece, and so it cannot act on the next turn. So if you upgrade that, you can increase the range from 1 square away to 2 squares away, 3 squares away, and if you upgrade it all the way, you can use it 2 times in one game instead of just 1 time per game. So yeah, it was really fun coming up with all these unique abilities, what would make the most sense. And it's not just thrown out there, right? I think the rook was probably the hardest to come up with, but the rook, if you think about the rook in chess, it's a structure, right? It's like a tower. And so I gave the rook an ability called fortification, and the surrounding pieces by the rook are protected on your opponent's next turn. It kind of creates this fortified structure. Even the artwork, you can see like pawns or some humans beneath this, like not a fortress, but like a structure, and it protects them. So um, yeah, just giving them all unique abilities, and that was a lot of fun and challenging to do.
Yeah, I can imagine, but I was kind of wondering while I was playing it, like, did it ever feel kind of hard to like balance it between like getting a special ability and like kind of like straight up like making it impossible to lose?
Making it impossible to lose?
Yeah, by like
Well, so you can be really good at chess, and you can come up with some really good abilities to unlock and upgrade, but as you progress in the game, it gets harder. The AI grows. So the first 4 missions in the game, it's kind of just getting, especially the first mission. The enemy is only a bunch of pawns, and then the next few missions, the enemy will not use any abilities. But on mission 5, they start using abilities, and as you get into the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, they start using more abilities, and it's much more difficult. And then once you beat the 50 mission campaign, there's something called the end game dungeon. Once you beat that, the screen changes. It says prepare to enter the dungeon. And the first 50 missions of the campaign are either mirror image or reverse image. So each side has an equal advantage or disadvantage, right? Same number of pieces, and mirror image. But with the end game dungeon, you're outnumbered. The king's throne may be blocked by walls. You're going to be at positional disadvantages, and your opponent might have 2 queens, and while you only have you're one, you might have 1 of every power piece. Your opponent might have 2 of every power piece. It's so the end. It gets way more challenging.
I'm not good at chess, so I had to really rely on the different like modifiers and like boosts that you get.
Yeah,
And like I thought
abilities. Yeah.
yeah, I think I got to about level 5 when I had to stop.
Okay.
And I was getting like brutalized.
Yeah, the beginning's really hard, especially mission 2. That's when the that first game is kind of considered tutorial, um, being only enemy pawns that you're up against. And then mission 2, you start saying, wait a minute, this board is completely scrambled. It's not, your pieces don't start in the traditional places,
Mhm.
rooks on the corner, the king and queen towards the middle, right? And then you have a row of pawns. It introduces these new mechanics where the pieces are basically scrambled. Your king and queen might start on the corners. Your rooks might start in the middle. Your knights might start on the third row. Instead of 4 pawns, you might only have, or instead of 8 pawns, you might only have 4. And so whenever you click next mission, you just kind of take a look at the board and it's like, whoa, okay, these pieces are all over. I'm not used to this. Normal chess players have to think, wow, you need a new strategy. You need new thinking. These are new puzzles you have to solve. And that new difficulty makes it really fun, I think.
I would agree with that, and I thought another thing you add to the maps that is not in normal chess is you have, and you had sort of alluded to it earlier. You have walls and
Yeah.
different things that block your path, so you have to kind of rethink about how you want to use your knight. And
Yeah, exactly. So these walls are, well, uh, they're these permanent structures which you just have to play around. Like, what if there's a couple walls right in the middle of the map, or maybe they're on the the sides of the map, and oh, well, I can't do my rook straight movement there, or I can't move my pawn up because there's this wall that's blocking this square. This square is no longer usable. But you're right. If you move your knight up, knights can jump over pieces and they can jump over walls too. And that reminds me, one of the abilities for the rook, I was talking about them being the rook is kind of like a structure piece, right? It looks kind of like a little tower, doesn't it? Well, one of the abilities for the rook is called, drawing a blank on my own piece's name. Anyway, so the rook, no, it's called wall. What am I thinking? Okay, so one of the rook's abilities is called wall, and it can create one of those temporary walls just for one turn. So you can move your rook, or you can just use your rook's wall ability, place a wall on a square, and it would block movements that maybe your queen is has a beeline attack on your king, or whatever piece, and then you create this wall in on this square, and it blocks that. So it covers you for one extra turn, and then it goes away at the start of your next turn. So some of the walls are permanent, like if the map starts with walls, and then you can create temporary walls with your rook.
yeah, I hadn't unlocked that. Although the rook is one of my favorite pieces, and I thought that I had a hard time getting him out sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And in regular chess, that's the same thing. They're in those corners, and you're gonna have to move either a pawn or a knight to get that rook out. But the rook has a unique ability called castle. And if you think about, in regular chess, castle is already a name of a move. It's a very unique move in regular chess, right? Your king and your rook can kind of make a little swap, right?
Mhm.
But in Chesslocke, castle is, you can swap places with any power piece, right? So it doesn't just have to be with your king. It could be with a bishop, could be with a knight, it could be with your queen. And if you upgrade it to level 1, then that power piece is limited. It can only be a power piece that's 1 square away, and you swap positions. But if you upgrade it further, spend your experience points and upgrade it to level 2, you could be swapping positions with a bishop that's 2 squares away, right? And
Mhm.
so you just said, oh, I had some trouble getting my rook out. But if you use that castle ability, it's so useful, especially in the end game dungeon.
There's your spoiler hint
That's
for
a yeah, that's a
the
hint.
final boss. So with the map design, like how did you sort of go about that? Was there just sort of like, did you just like play a bunch to see like kind of what would happen with different like modifiers, like different wall pieces added? Like you did 50 of these, so it must have taken a lot of work to sort of get them to be unique and kind of challenging.
Yeah, so well, I did 50 of them, and then I added another 50 for the end game dungeon, which was I'll send you screenshots of some of them later. But they're whoa, okay. But yeah, I was playing around with them. The walls were really fun, putting them in the middle of the board, in the sides of the board, and then I wanted to I wanted it to really feel like a puzzle, like you're looking at a brand new board. It's kind of like, have you ever like played a game of chess, started to play it, and then you and your opponent kind of take a break and you leave and then come back and you have to look at the board again and they're all scrambled, and it's like, whoa, okay, okay, well, this piece could attack, okay, over there. It's kind of like that, joining in kind of in the middle of a game, and you have to play like that, and it adds that new challenge, that new strategy and new thinking. It just kind of forces you into that. And I had so many different variants of that, and I just went with, which one's the most fun, which one's basically it came down to that, which one's the most fun, and I got rid of some of them, and you know what, I really like this one. And so yeah, it was a lot of fun making up those different variations.
Very cool. So you must have done like a lot of play testing to kind of see what the options would be, right?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of play testing, seeing how fast it would be to get into the action. So something with normal chess is, the start. It's kind of like scoot a pawn, scoot another pawn, and then you want to develop your pieces. And in the majority of Chesslock, let's just say, 6 or 7 turns to develop pieces. You might only need to take like 3 or 4, and so it kind of gets you into that. I could make an attack right now. Do I want to make a sacrifice? Do I want to swap? It kind of gets you into the action just a little bit sooner, but you can still play defensively and all that.
When developing this, did you like learn how to do all the programming and art things on your own, or did you have some people that you worked with to help you out?
Yeah, so I tried to get into programming, and I found that I don't really like programming. Like I said, I designed this game for many years on paper and in spreadsheets, tweaking experience points and how they scale, how much you get throughout the campaign, and making all the different maps and abilities and everything. I got everything on paper and designed everything as far as I possibly could, and then I got to that point where it's I could either just sit here forever or I could try to bring it to life. Well, how do I do that? I'm going to need some sort of money or something like that, right? Because I'm not into programming. So I actually called a few different app building companies, and I talked with them, explained the whole situation. They quoted me, okay, so we'll do the programming, we'll make create this artwork, we'll do soundtracks, we'll do a little bit of marketing, and this is going to be about cost you $35,000. And I'm thinking, okay, good information. I got to go because I didn't have $35,000. I had just gotten married. I just bought a house. I couldn't cough up that kind of money, and so the dream was kind of dead for a little bit. And then I thought, what if I do this piece by piece, very slowly, and I just put the components together as affordably as possible. And so I went to this website, and I'm about to sound like an advertisement for Fiverr.com. Are you familiar with Fiverr?
That's sort of like a freelancer like hire
Yeah,
site type
exactly.
thing, right?
So it has just thousands and thousands of freelance workers that'll do everything. And so I found my programmer, my artist, and my composer on Fiverr. And the good thing about Fiverr is there are so many of them. You are going to find the style that you want. So if it comes to art or music composition, and you're going to find your price point. You're going to find what is in your budget. And I was on a really tight budget, right? And so first one I talked to an artist. So I looked through, dozens of artists, and I really like this guy's feel. He has it's not too cartoony. It's got vibrant colors, but it also has kind of a dark theme to it, just slightly. And so I just really liked it. So I got to talking to him, and then I said, hey, I need like 30 of these pieces of artwork. And this is the art for the abilities, for the title screen, for the victory and victory or loss screen, and then, various other little pieces of artwork that might pop up on the screen or flipping through the each button. And so I said, I need about 30 of these. We started talking about time and money, and he said, okay, well, I can't do this all ASAP. Let's do 10 at a time, and you give me like a month, and which it was perfect for me because I need to get a couple paychecks so I can that towards purchasing this artwork. And so he dished out about 10 per month. And since it was kind of that bulk order, I was getting 30 of them. I got a very affordable deal, and that worked out. Then next up, I found this amazing composer, and I said, hey, I like your sound. I need about 5 or 6 or 7 of these soundtracks, and they'll all be about 60 seconds long, and then I need them to loop. And it says 60 seconds. Okay, loopable, sure. Okay, so you're trying to do chess. Okay, so something classical. How about piano? And I said, no, not piano. I don't want the players to fall asleep. I need something with some bump. I want it to sound cool. And so, well, he gave me what you hear. It's almost like, I don't know if it's considered techno, but it's. I said I need it subtle enough so they can focus, but I need some enough bump so they're not falling asleep. And I got these really awesome tracks for the title screen, the menu screens, and then you can actually change the music if you want in game. So I got that, and then the hardest thing was finding a programmer. So I interviewed a few different programmers, and I heard all their price points. And I talked to this one programmer, and I said, can you make the game chess from scratch? Like, create the rules for chess, and this has to move this way, and this has to attack diagonally. And he said, yeah, I can make it from scratch. I said, okay, then can you add certain abilities? And your king can dub a pawn to a knight, and it's a knight for the rest of the game. Can you do that? Yeah, sure, I can do that. I said, okay. And we got to talking, and he said, I can't do this full time. I can do a little bit here and a little bit there, and it's going to take some time. And that was perfect for me because I had to give, a few $100 of every few weeks. And we did that for about a year and a half. And the other option was pay $35,000 to a company up front to build this game. And the route that I took was I did it in less than a third of that. And yeah, and that's how I built my first game. I used Fiverr.com for an artist, a composer, and a programmer. And every 2 weeks the programmer would send me his the build. Okay, this knight's joust ability is in, and so I would tested it in different ways. And then, okay, now the bishop's revive ability is in, and I would test that out. Okay, I put in the next 5 maps to play, and I would test those out, make sure they're fun, and then make sure there are no bugs. There was a infinite XP glitch I found right before launch. That was really unique. So, the programmer would get further and further with what we had planned out, and then I would test it and then send it back. And we did that for about a year and a half. That's how we built it. And then my next biggest challenge was marketing the game. That was a really big challenge because I didn't really have funding to market the game. I mean, there was no Kickstarter, there was no fundraiser, no, GoFundMe.com. It was all just, it's my passion project. So I made certain sacrifices, and with every paycheck of my normal day job, I just put it towards the game, and it was my project, it was my hobby, right? But once the my wife said, okay, once you launch it, that's it, you can't spend any more money. And so I couldn't advertise besides word of mouth. And so, I'm on Twitter and I'm on Twitch, and I was using social media, and I was saying, hey, this is chess with RPG elements. It has puzzle aspects, and you can upgrade your pieces, and there's experience points and level ups and all that. And that worked for a little bit. And then I thought, you know what? I'm going to go to all the chess streamers on Twitch and give them a free code to play the game, a free Steam key to play the game. And so I went to the biggest chess streamers, and I went to indie game review companies. I seriously I contacted about 100, let's just say. It's a good round number, and it's pretty accurate. About 100, and I probably heard back from less than 10%. Yeah, and the chess, I thought it was going to be a big hit with the chess streamers, right? People just watch them play chess. But the thing about chess streamers is that they want to play chess and not a chess variant. And so, okay, that makes sense, because they're, feedback that I got was, I'm trying to be a grandmaster. This isn't going to help me be a grandmaster. And okay, that makes sense. And so, they don't want to play a chess variant. So I went to other YouTubers, just game reviewers. Hey, you want to play a new game? It's a puzzle game. If you like chess, you like RPGs, this is right up your alley. And I got one big one. I mean, bigger than all the others. I got a big one of the biggest game review YouTubers that exist. His name is Pro Jared. He reviews a lot of RPGs, like Final Fantasy games and stuff like that. I sent him an email and I said, hey, I've actually been watching you on YouTube for several years now, which is completely true. And I just developed this game. It's called Chesslocke, chess with RPG elements. And I didn't hear anything for about a month. And then I'm at my computer, and I see on my Chesslocke YouTube page, someone commented on my video. Like, I put like a tutorial, I put like the game trailer on the YouTube page, or the tutorial, or both of them. And I got comments like, hey, just saw the game, looks great. And then it said, hey, yeah, just heard about the game, this is great. And I said, oh, how'd you hear about this? Oh, on the Pro Jared channel. And then I kept getting these notifications like, hey, your game looks really cool. And I said, wait a minute, Pro Jared, he didn't even tell me. One of the biggest YouTube game review YouTubers didn't even tell me that he put out a video. But that day he put it out, and it got like 20,000 views within the first day. And it's him playing my game for like 30 minutes in this video. And I was so excited. I was sweating watching it. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And he did well. The second half, he skipped the tutorial and he just jumped right into playing the game. And he didn't know, wait a minute, well, how do I do this? How do I do that? And I'm ripping my hair out, and I'm thinking, like, listen, the tutorial is 2 minutes long. That's it. Okay. It's 2 minutes. You can just do this. Anyway, he got the hang of it, because there's a little mechanic with the king's throne that if you skip the tutorial, you're going to not know how to do that, or maybe not know how to use abilities or something like that. But he played it pretty well. It looked like he was having fun. And then I read the comments. There were like 300 comments on his video that first day. And they were all saying like, oh, you should have moved your knight to F3, and then you should have used the knight's halt ability, or you should have done this, and oh, you should have done, and that made people themselves buy the game. And it brought, that video brought a bunch of people to my Steam page. I can do it better than this YouTuber, and so they went out and they bought the game, and that was really cool.
All it really takes is like one person finding your game, and then you have Stardew Valley.
Yeah, I was really counting on that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's actually something about your game that's different than a lot of the other people that we talk to. Is your game's currently available. You can go buy it. Right. You could be playing Chesslocke while you listen to us talk about Chesslocke right now.
Exactly. Yeah, it's on Steam, and I set it at a very fair price. It's only $6.99 on Steam. So yeah, go get it.
Yeah, it's an incredible price for if there's 100+ levels and chess is your thing, you'll definitely really dig it. That's for sure. Like I was saying, I suck at chess, and I was still having fun trying to like figure it out. And I feel like the advantages and things that you add made it so even though I suck at chess, I still had a chance.
Yeah.
Which is something I don't always have. So even if like you're not a chess grandmaster or however that works, you can still really enjoy this game.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing I was kind of wondering about was, from all your notebooks and like data that you were compiling for all that time, when you were writing those notes and stuff, does your final product reflect what you were hoping for?
One big thing that I left out, I wanted there to be a way to upgrade your castle. So there was this castle component where it's kind of like home court advantage or home field advantage. If you're playing on my side, like if I'm playing as, either black or white or whatever, if you're either playing in my castle courtyard, or you're playing in the other opponent's castle courtyard, and you could upgrade your castle to have certain special perks, like something, for example, like one perk was like you could go first or something like that, or another perk was like your opponent cannot use an ability the first 3 rounds, the first 3 turns, something like that. So there were different ways to upgrade the castle. I even had a bunch of cosmetic things planned, like you could change how your pieces looked, change how the board looks. I played around with different styles of pieces, but overall it didn't look good. If one side chess set has a certain style and then the other one has a different one, it looked really odd, and it just didn't look good. And then if you could change the board itself to, instead of a marble, to be like a wooden tiles, or something like that. If your pieces were glossy and the other ones were more like crystal or marble, it just the mismatch didn't look good. So I got rid of that. Yeah, and then I didn't go through with the upgrading your castle thing.
That sounds cool though.
Yeah.
Maybe somewhere down the road there'll be a way to like incorporate that into like a DLC or
Chesslocke
like
2.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I thought about adding to the game, which I did. I added more of the end game dungeon missions, which, based on feedback, is the player's favorite part of the game. Once you get into this dungeon hard mode, it's really fun. It's different. It's challenging. The game board goes to a darker scale. The music changes. You're in this dungeon. It is challenging but really fun. And so I added more of those. The game started, when I launched it, there were only 12 dungeon maps. And then people saying, we want more dungeon maps. So I said, okay, I'm going to up it to 20 dungeon maps. And they're really hard, guys. And then they said, you know what? We want more. So I upped it to 50. And okay, these are really, really hard. Like you need your abilities maxed out for, I mean, it's, well, I don't want to spoil it, but yeah.
So have you gotten a lot of feedback that people have gotten through like all 100 levels?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
really? Wow.
All 100 levels. There are some diehards. I have a Discord channel, and you can join the Chesslocke Discord. And I created it for if you have any questions or something like that, hop in the Discord and you can share. Oh yeah, I'm stuck on this map. This one's so hard, or I like this ability, and talk about different challenges. Like there are different runs that you can do, like a queen abilities only run. So you can use just normal chess, and the only abilities you're allowed to use are your queens, right? And so, like I did a king ability only run. Another guy did a knight only ability run, and they're really fun. They're challenging. They're really different. I started working on a speed run of my own game. Actually, I like watching speed runs, and I started mapping out, what would be the best route. And but anyway, so yeah, we can talk about all that in the Discord server. Just go to Discord and look up Chesslocke, and then it's right there.
Now that Chesslocke is out and people are playing it, have you thought about doing another game or Chesslocke
Yeah.
2 maybe?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, people were asking for more dungeon maps, and so I made more dungeon maps. And I thought about what could be next, and I thought about going to, tablets, iPads. I think that would be doable. That was in the original design, but then I just launched it on Steam, and I think it plays really well on, with a mouse, moving your pieces with a mouse, and you can either click and drag or you can point and click, and it works well with the mouse. And I thought, it could work with like an iPad, so that could be a next step. The other step would be localization. I could, change it to other languages. I haven't done any of that because I've been working on another game, my next game. It has nothing to do with chess, and I'm not quite ready to talk about it yet. But yeah, I'm pretty well into. I'm still in design phase, but I've been working on something else, so I haven't added many extra features to Chesslocke since launch.
Well, it sounds like there's plenty to explore already without
Yeah,
adding more. Do you ever get I'm keeping you a really long time, so I
oh,
apologize.
it's okay.
This is a lot of fun.
No, this is
Um,
great.
Do you have people like recommend like maps to you that are like, "Oh, you should try this or try that."
Recommend maps
Like ideas, like, "Oh, you
oh
could
yeah,
put like."
no, so in the Discord server, I posted a challenge called Design Your Own Map. And I took 3 players' maps, and they are in the end game dungeon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I said, here's a blank template. All you do is you mark, P for pawn, or Q for queen, or W for a wall, and that. So you just take this, and then I had a few people send it back to me, and I said, okay, well, I think we should modify this. That way, the player can think about doing this, and blah. And so I designed it with the player base. And then I said, great. And then I picked 3 of them, and my 3 favorite ones are in the endgame dungeon in Chesslocke.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because that helps people feel even more a part of the experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
I won't pry too much onto the next game, but we'll have to get you back when there's more to share.
Yeah, sure.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with the world before we get to wrapping up?
I think I would just like to talk about, Chesslocke is live on Steam right now. Just type it. It's one word, Chesslokke. If you want to help out, you can buy the game, or if you see it on social media, maybe you could share it on Twitter. You could like the category on Twitch. Yeah, so you could just follow it on social media and join the Discord and leave a review.
Awesome. And what was your Twitter handle again?
Yeah, so my Twitter handle is Loxulus, Loxxulus, Loxulus. And then there's Chesslocke Twitter. And then I'm actually a Twitch streamer. I stream RPGs on Twitch under Loxalis. I stream a lot of retro games like Final Fantasy games. I'm playing through Xenogears right now. If you're a fan of that. And people will join my Twitch and ask me questions about Chesslocke, and I love answering questions about Chesslocke, even when I'm playing another game. So feel free to do that.
Awesome. Well, it's so cool to talk with you. You clearly have like a huge passion for your game.
Yeah, thanks. You too.
You talk about it very clearly, and I feel like I learned a lot about it, and I'm excited to go back and play again.
Great. Yeah, I hope you do.
Hopefully I've become a better player just having heard more about the process. So.
Well, if you have any questions, if you need any help, you can send me a tweet or ask me on Discord, and I'm open for any questions.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We'll have to get you back on soon.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Hey there, podcast listeners. I am David.
And I'm Kate.
And together we host a podcast that you might be interested in if you like The Legend of Zelda.
There are lots of awesome podcasts out there and a lot of awesome Zelda podcasts out there.
That's right, Kate, and we are another one of them. In fact, that is the name of our show, Another Zelda Podcast.
And in our show in particular, we talk about some of our favorite dungeons, characters, boss battles. We do a couple top 10 lists here and there.
We have some deep dive episodes, and we even pepper in a couple quiz episodes.
We talk about our own experiences. We do some review episodes, talk about our challenges, our struggles, and our victories.
That's right. If it has to do with The Legend of Zelda, we talk about it.
You can check out our episodes on our website, anotherzeldapodcast.com.
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and a lot of the other podcast services that are out there.
And you can also check out our episodes on our website, anotherzeldapodcast.com.
All right, we will see you there.
Okay, bye.
Hey, this is TC.
And this is Jim from the Studio Demands It podcast,
Where every episode we take a demand from a hypothetical studio,
which could be you,
and challenge ourselves to conceptualize, pitch, and craft a film based on the stipulations
or the demands
we are given. We talk about movies all the time. Particularly, we complain about the choices made in the films we've seen.
We're nerds like that.
And, of course, like any good nerd does, we automatically assume that we could do better.
Even with the demands and restrictions that clearly must have been put on by a production.
So head on over to studiodemandsit.com and listen to our previous library of episodes. Our library of previous episodes. Our precious library, Jim. Our library of precious episodes.
You're a pirate, Smeagol.
Okay, so head on over to studiodemandsit.com to listen to our library of episodes.
And submit your demand for a future episode too.
So go do that.
Okay, bye.
Okay, end of ad.
Hello, we are joined with Kenn today, the creator of Immortal Tactics. And Chris is here as always, or as frequently as we can ask him to be here. So, Kenn, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you both?
Doing good.
I just rolled out of bed, so I'm a little bit sleepy, but I'm excited to be here.
I'm good
Yeah.
too.
Thanks for having me.
So, what is Immortal Tactics kind of about?
Yeah, Immortal Tactics is a fast turn-based roguelite tactics game. So basically it's a hex game with roguelite elements to it, which focuses more of constant conflicts and battles every time. Because I think one of the reasons I made the game was to create something that's suitable for the modern generation while having a bit of like the classic tactics at the same time, but mixed with the modern of it. So I think it's more of a game that pushes the player to think about the moves of each moves thoroughly before making them, just moving them everywhere, just attacking every single time. I tried a game that makes the players think first rather than just keep on moving and attacking.
Yeah. I see that there's 3 playable characters. Is it just the 3?
Currently there's up to 10 characters. So
Oh
for
wow.
each character that you can play. So for the first 3 ones is a knight. It's the usual ones like the knight, the archer, and the mage. But what I tried to do for all the characters is to have them different, or to play them differently. It's not just having them different stats. We're just having because like some characters you would play is let's say if you're gonna use a knight and you're gonna use the paladin, you're just gonna have like different stats with them. So what I tried with this game is to have the characters play differently. So if you can get the game demo now, you can try the Eternal Saint, and the Eternal Saint plays way differently from the other 3 ones. It's the same with the archer. It's the same with the knight, and it's the same with the mage. Because like for the archer, you can go with the more tactical or strategical move where you can do back damage. You can do double damage when you attack the enemy on the back. While this won't have any effect if you use the knight or even the mage. While the mage is quite strong, it can handle crowd control. It can handle a lot of enemies, but the usage is much smaller. Or the mana or the enemy is much smaller compared to the archer and the knight.
I see. And you also have a leader slot. That's something that's really different from other games in a similar genre.
Yeah. For the leader it's like you can choose a lot of leaders, and each leader has their own skills, which could directly help your army at the same time. But you can use this like overpowered skills not on the first few stages, because you have to finish a couple of objectives so that you can get more usage of the leaders.
And for people that are just listening along, the leader is like a character that's not on the board. It's somebody that has some passives, it looks like, and some active abilities that you would use as the player to help your units on the board.
Yeah. And in the future, actually, we're gonna have synergies. Like if you use certain characters with a certain leader, you're gonna get like a boost for that character. Not only not only boost in stats, like something different if you use that certain character with a leader.
Awesome.
Having played the demo, and we were talking a little bit about this before we started recording, I was saying how much I liked the archer because of the longer range that he has versus some of the other characters. I noticed that on the maps that I was playing, you have a lot of like kind of bottlenecks where you sort of have like one way through without going the long way around.
Yeah. Actually, for the good thing you notice it, because one of the things that I wanted to make for the tactics game, especially for this one, is to have strategical placement of your characters. There are placement, since this game is roguelite, so the map is procedurally generated. But even so, I kind of make it to a point that there are the strategical parts that I wanted to be placed is still generated in that map. So there are some maps that have like a choke point or like a bottleneck, like what you said. It's to further push or is to further enhance your strategy for that game. And there are trees. Actually, the trees would act as a like a road opener. So it's also part of the strategy player as well.
Oh, so you can clear the trees.
Yeah, because the concept of the game is basically you're being overrun by a lot of enemies. I'm sure you felt that. So
Yeah.
if the road is opened or if the tiles are opened up as the game goes on, it's much easier for the enemies to go to you compared to like choke points and smaller tiles that only have one passage. Having more open tiles would definitely be harder for the player in the long run.
Mm-hmm. And I think that makes it more fun because it's not dreadfully obvious what the best route is.
Yeah. It's like I'm sure that you're gonna experience it like for each match that you're gonna go ahead to is it's quite different because aside from the changing of the map or the strategy of the map, you also have different objectives for that. So you have to match how you want to play that exact skirmish or that exact map based on the tile setup and at the same time the missions for that map.
Are the maps all a similar size?
They all have the same size, but the exact playable area is well, the playable area because even the map is procedurally generated. I kind of make it to a point that the conflict is there. So what I mean by that is the enemies and the players are kind of close to each other at all times. So you will have to think about the moves that you're gonna make because if you make a wrong turn or wrong move, there's a negative consequence for that.
Yeah, I'd like to just highlight how different that is from other tactical games where a lot of the times you end up having to, turn one. All right, let's start moving across the map, and then by about turn 3 or 4, we'll have caught up to the enemy and we'll be in some sort of conflict. It seems like you get up close and personal a lot faster.
Yeah, because there was games before like actually my favorite game for the tactics is Final Fantasy Tactics, but you can exploit the game like you can just put Ramza or anywhere or anyone like put them on the edge of the map, then just keep on accumulating, and then you're gonna more exp, more job points. I think that's what I was trying to eliminate is there's also a good thing if you're having a huge map, there's a bonus for that, but the way I designed the game is there was also a negative. If the map was quite huge, I was trying to make it more balanced in a way that the conflict was still there, rather than just abusing it and trying to make your players so strong to the point that you can just one hit anyone, or you can just use like the calculator to to kill all the units there.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I'm also notoriously bad at math. So I'm liking the numbers that I see. They're all quite low, which is also quite different. And for people who haven't looked at it, the thing I'm talking about is looking at the health of like your mage. One of them has two total health, 2 max health. Your knight has like 3 max health. And the enemies are all kind of similar. So it's on a different scale than a lot of other games.
Yeah. Actually, for the low health one, I really wanted to make it because it's easier for me to actually look at low numbers one looking at 9,999 damage once. So
yeah, because it gets to a point in some of these that it's like, what really is the difference between 1,000 and 1,200 damage? As a player, that doesn't mean a lot to you other than number go up a little bit. But when it's like number go from 2 to 3, you're like, oh, big increase.
Yeah, that's true. But I think one thing people noticed right away was the half symbol. Like you can go half. So instead of like 1, 2, or 3, you can actually go 1.5. When I was making the game and then when I was testing it, I did not hear anyone like told me like they're off with the half symbol. But when the game demo went out, I actually just realized that there are some people who don't like the half symbol. So so I've placed a settings one just to remove that, and it doubles all the values. So it's for the people who don't like the half symbol one.
That's really funny, but more customization is never a bad thing.
Yeah, I try my best to to accommodate the game for all people. Because I would understand if the half one is kind of annoying for you. So it's something that could help you with that.
Yeah, for sure. I'd like to talk about sort of the story, and it's procedurally generated, but I see that you kind of pick a campaign almost, or at least you pick an area. So, what is the story procedurally generated? Is it scripted events within a procedural generation? Like, how does that work?
Is not generated by the map, but it has only one story. So only the matches or the maps are procedurally generated. The story is more about, I guess, being nihilistic.
Great.
Because the game, you would notice like there are four gods present. There's the good, evil, human nature. Well, it's basically the metaphor for a person having, well, everyone is good at some point, everyone's bad at some point. We are all connected with nature, and at the same time we're all human. It's better to have those.
I'm good all the time. I don't know what you on the internet these days. That's all you're supposed to say. I'm just still watching the gameplay. A lot of the designs look really cool too, for both the players but also the enemies. Like what I'm looking at, it looks like a lot of the enemies are very nature based. They're like tree people. I'm looking at these. I really like these ones. It's like kind of tree archers.
Because the first stage is the wildlands, so it's mostly nature enemies. Then the next area is swamplands. Then you also have the castle one, which all of the areas there have their own set of enemies. And I tried to make all the enemies different from each other rather than having the usual numerical difference, because I was trying to not make it like an Excel game where yeah, the only difference is like when you go to this stage, only the HP would go up, but the attack would go up, but they act the same. So I kind of tried, which I know is kind of risky, but I kind of tried having different units per area.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I see too you've got a roadmap up, which is pretty cool on your Steam page. One of the things that you're talking about, it says you're aiming for a February-March 2023 release, and that you want to get some new modes in there. Do you have you talked at all about what those new modes are, or is that still a secret?
Sure, I can actually disclose it. The new modes will have an endless mode. Basically, it's like a high score race system where it's like how far can you go. And that's like the real roguelike challenge for the hardcore players. I also have the skirmish one, which is similar to Heroes 3, where you can create your own map, you can share it with other players. So it's basically like a skirmish where you can create certain mini story or mini campaign for players to play. Then you can share those afterwards.
That's awesome. I love seeing stuff like that, because then if you get really into a game, if the community can help create content, it'll keep going for a real long time.
Yeah, because I played Heroes 3 when I was a kid, and to be honest, up until now, it's one of those games that I still play.
Oh yeah, I've got several games that will just never go out of style for me.
What sort of games inspired this?
This specifically, because, well, honestly, when I thought about making a tactics game, in my head was Vandal Hearts 2. I know it's very different from this, but Vandal Hearts 2 had a different turn-based system where when you control or when you move a unit, it's the same time that your unit and the enemy unit moves at the same time, which is quite different when I played it before, and I don't quite see it often. So the reason why I brought that up, because I wanted to create something different in terms of the turn-based system. Rather than having the usual, which isn't bad, by the way. The usual ones or the classic ones is great, but I just wanted to create something new for the genre. First was Vandal Hearts 2. Then obviously you can see Heroes 3. Pretty sure you can see Heroes 3 from that. like what I said earlier, I played a lot of Heroes 3 games. Some of Into the Breach. If the XCOM, Gears Tactics, and the more newer ones influenced this one, but it did influence me, especially in terms of tactics games.
Which was I'm not very good on the difference between roguelike and roguelite. Is this the kind that you like will get you'll be leveling up or getting some kind of progression outside of the game that carries over to multiple runs, or is that the other kind?
Now for the roguelite, because this one you can unlock characters and the leaders and their skills by completing achievements. Like there are times you can see a treasure chest and you can get that and you can get a new character from it. There are times that you have to kill or like you have to defeat enemies, then you can get a new skill from that. So there's still a progression in the game. So that's the reason why I kind of called it roguelite.
I'm curious too. Do you right now you can get the demo on Steam, but do you have a price point for it yet? For when what you think it'll cost when it's fully out?
Yeah, currently looking at $14.99.
I think that's fair for a good tactics game.
Yeah,
I think that's definitely fair. And we just saw it's a little more expensive. I was thinking of Symphony of War was another tactical game that was willing to price itself kind of that way.
It's a great game. Actually, I'm playing Songs of Conquest right now. It's a great game.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love that you guys all like, I don't know, it's fun to hear that like devs playing other games. Do you have any plans for like, I think you have a really good roadmap. But I'm curious, do you have any plans for things like DLC or a sequel when this is done? Anything like that you're willing to disclose yet?
Every update that I'm gonna make for the game will be free. So
hey, all right.
Yeah, I don't because I grew up in the SNES era where I mean when you get the game, like there's no DLC.
Yeah.
So for me, if I do have some updates or if I do have some DLC, I'm just gonna count it as an update, like for free. Because I think that's how a game is supposed to be, since basically you got the base game already. So why not just give the updates for free?
Because money.
Yeah, I get that, but if you're just working your own, if you're working in a small studio, like you have something to lose, but at the same time you have everything to risk. I would understand the bigger studios less riskier, which I completely understand as well, because they have to answer to someone else. But if you're answering to yourself, you just want to create a good game for everyone.
I like that, and I feel like that is an underrated answer. You ask people why they want to make games, and there's a lot of answers, but because I just want to make a good game for people. It's not one that is actually said that often anymore, I don't think.
Yeah, because I just wanted to create a game that's not it's not the same. Hopefully, it's not the same with any game, because I just wanted to make, and hopefully I would want to make an impact, because the games I played, especially when I was young, had a great impact on me.
Yeah, so you kind of want to impact somebody else the same way.
Yeah, hopefully in a positive way.
Wait 15, 20 years and somebody, if we're still doing this, we'll interview somebody and they'll go, yeah, when I was a kid, I got this game Immortal Tactics. And that's really what all this is based on.
Yeah, that's gonna put a smile on my face.
At any point, where do you think that we'll be able to take control of the enemies? Do anything like that?
Not directly, but there's one hero does something like that.
Oh, that sounds interesting and mysterious.
Yeah. I think that's as much spoiler I can say for the people unlocking that character.
That sounds cool. I always ask about it because of it was always really satisfying. I don't know if you're familiar with the game Lord of the Rings: The Third Age. It's a fun little RPG from back in the day, but it was always really fun to me to whenever they had an evil mode that let you play as the villains and fight your party. And whenever I had, taken a big loss or something, or the RNG had screwed me over with the characters missing or something, it was fun to switch to the evil guys and just kill my party real quick. It made me feel just a little bit better.
Yeah. Were you controlling like a lot of units when you were using the enemy side?
It would do it per battle. So it would actually take like some of the scripted battles that would, because there's random battles in that game, but there's also like scripted ones, and some of them are kind of set piece battles. So it would take some of those scripted ones and just put you in control of the orcs for that one. And so it was like your party allows you to have 3 at a time, and bad guys you'd have like 3 to 5.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds interesting.
And it didn't have any kind of progression or any kind of like
Wait, if you use the enemies and you won as the enemies, do you actually win?
yeah, so what it does is it puts you on like a couple battles. You would do it per chapter. So you would do evil mode for chapter 1, and you would do like the first 6 battles of chapter 1 or something, or the 6 most important battles of chapter 1. And if you won the whole thing, you actually won some items for your heroes to use in the campaign.
Oh, okay.
You would get like a new sword and maybe a couple of like healing potions or things like that. And I think you only got the rewards the first time you beat the evil mode for it, but you could still go back and replay the evil mode, which I did frequently just because I thought it was fun.
It's like a mini mode as well.
Yeah, just a fun little distraction for if I get too frustrated with the main game.
Well, that's something interesting.
See, do you have any like super challenging hardcore achievement plan?
I have just a few ones because I wanted to make the like the hardcore gamers or the hardcore players enjoy the game as well. The real masochist.
Yep. So I'm hearing play through the entire game with one character.
Like they die, like you start with 1 health.
Oh goodness.
This is where you really want those fractions.
Yeah, those halves become real important. I know if you make something like that, though, people will do it. I'm not quite that much of a masochist, but there are definitely people that are.
But by the way, what are your take on the halves?
On the halves, I don't know. I would try it both ways. I might double things just to make it more round, even numbers, because like I said, math is definitely not my strong suit, so I really need all the help I can get. But we're also dealing with such small numbers that I'd probably be fine. I'm a little bit curious too as to like the halves. Does it just kind of count as a hit point? Or like if I get reduced down to, let's say, just half of a health point, can I keep living on that, or will I die?
You're still gonna live with a half health point. And actually, funny thing with the half one is I had to actually like discuss or talk with a lot of people with a half discussion, and to actually get the poll like which one do you like best? Is it the half or the with no half? And the answer was still 50-50. So it didn't kind of bring me anywhere. It just still remained the same.
I know it wouldn't have made any sense, but it would have been really ironic if you let people like cast a half vote. I don't think many polling institutions allow for a half vote, but it would have been funny.
Because when I tested it, like there are some people told me like they didn't notice the half, and there's the other half of those people that they were just really bugged about the half symbol in the game. Like, why is there a half? Just remove the half. And they were joking that do you also have like a fourth or like a 3/4 of the health I'm like, maybe.
It's funny because when I was playing the demo, it didn't even like register that like that was like a point of annoyance. I just sort of mentally accepted it. So it's funny to hear that there were other people that had opinions on it.
Well, it's the best I can do is just to have the settings to
Mhm.
for the people that don't like the feature is you can just double the values. There's also one. I'm not sure if you noticed in the settings you can actually change the font as well to a simple font. Because this I understand because coming from a country that's the main language isn't English, um, it's hard for some people to read the fonts in the medieval designed way. So I placed an accessibility setting where it makes the fonts simpler and much easier to read.
That's something I feel like is overlooked a lot. So that's really nice that that you would do that.
It's actually from the community. There's a lot of changes in the game that I did because of the community. They did help me a lot. When I was testing the game, I was just I was I was asking them like all the time, like what you did not like about the game. I mean, you can tell me what you didn't like about the game, and I'll try to make it better if I can. So the improvements and upgrades of the game was actually done with the help of the community.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's always a good way, I think, to develop a game is getting a lot of feedback.
If I just base it for myself, and I don't think obviously it's not I'm not going to be a perfect person to do it. So um listening to the feedback of other players is I think for me it's something really important because I don't see a lot of the downside or the wrong things that I've done. I
Mhm.
mean, the main reason I've done them is I thought was good. So, and I was assuming they were good. But, I like to hear it when people tell me, like, you have to fix this, or I don't generally like this. And when I kind of hear them not only once, but like a couple of times or a number of times, it's a huge sign that there's a problem with that one.
Mhm.
Yeah, when you're hearing it from like multiple different people. It's also it can be hard to take some of those things into consideration because I know like I write books and things definitely become your baby. It's like, oh, I don't want to make changes, but it definitely can be difficult sometimes to kind of suck it up and be like, all right.
Well, I think that's one thing I've learned from the first games I've made before, which actually was very different. I had a different approach where my first few games was mainly targeting like if I wanted to have this feature or I wanted to have this one, um I just push it or I'm just gonna put it there even though you don't get it. Like I kind of understood that wasn't the right way to do it, but at the same time I understand that it's hard to actually to change everything for the game for everyone. I mean, you cannot please everyone, of course, but
Right.
if like
You're always gonna have that one guy that's like, does it have to be turn-based? And you're like,
yeah.
yes. Yes, it does.
But if I do hear the problem like not only once, like a couple of times already, I think that's something for me.
Yeah. So I you mentioned it and we usually ask about it, but I'm just scatterbrained today and we didn't. I see on Steam that you do have two other games. You've got Bricks Frenzy and Airstrife Assault of the Aviators.
Yeah. Actually, the first game I made was in the very first one was in high school. I started playing around with Game Maker maybe around like '04 or '05. It was like Game Maker 5.1 and it's free. Um I tried playing around with it, then it got stuck with me. But when I got into college, I kind of stopped. It's like when you stop, then after like a few years, it's still in your mind, and you just go back at it again.
Mm-hmm.
And then the pandemic happened. That's when I created the Bricks Frenzy one.
I see.
So yeah, but before that, I was making mobile games, like or even like mini games, just for fun. But when the pandemic happened, I kind of realized that this is something that I really wanted to do. So I just kind of pursued it.
That's awesome. And it just takes that decision sometimes that we're doing this.
Yeah. Well, I think when you get stuck in the house for too long,
you gotta start doing something, or you're gonna go
exactly.
nuts. For sure. And are you doing all of it yourself? Are you doing all the art and the music, or are you getting some help from outside?
I'm getting help. I know it's not my expertise in some aspects, and I have to acknowledge that. And there are artists who help me along the way. Karina, Slime, Arman. You'll know who you are. Thank you for all the help. Z for the audio. There's a lot of people who helped me along the way, and to be honest, if I did the game on my own, it won't turn out the way it is right now.
For sure. I know, as also not an artist, if you ask me to draw like character designs and stuff, you're gonna get something back that is gonna be interesting.
Well, I kind of understand that as well.
It looks really good. Yep. I also wanted to make sure I got to it because I think I brought it up earlier and I didn't get a straight answer on this one. So you do have a subtitle. It's Immortal Tactics, War of the Eternals. Are we possibly going to see Immortal Tactics something else?
I kind of like the subtitles in the games, like Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, Castlevania, Art of Sorrow. I think it's one way of having, like, if the game goes well, I'm very interested, in having a second. If the game goes well, I'm very interested in having a second one, and of course, the subtitle or subtext would be different.
All right, you heard it here first. There's going to be 10 of these games.
If I can do it.
So what can people do to help you out the most? Obviously, play the demo and join the Discord and give feedback, but also follow you on Steam, wishlist the game, and buy the game when it comes out. Is it going to be available on any other platform?
For now, it's just Steam. But I guess hopefully it goes well in the future. And I think one way people can help out is, just spread the word, because again, I guess this is the usual problem of game devs. We're not marketing experts. So any help in spreading the word would be much appreciated.
All right, so buy the game on Steam, wishlist it if you can't afford it yet, and come back and make sure you do pick it up at some point. Join the Discord, and definitely keep supporting Kennesoft Game Studio, because it looks like you're making some really cool stuff. Oh, I guess another thing you could do is pick up his previous games. Bricks Frenzy and Airstrife Assault of the Aviators.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, and it's an honor for me.
Stay in touch, and we'll talk soon. Bye now.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. If you would like to continue the conversation with us, you can find us on Twitter at the Turn by Turn Pod. We can also be found on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else podcasts are sold. A 5-star review on Apple Podcasts would mean the world. We will talk to you soon. Bye.